Hello my friends, how you doing? Welcome to day number 10 of our Raspberry Pi course. And this is the 5th day of exploring Scratch in terms of physical computing. We've been using the same project throughout this whole week just because we've been breaking it up so you can take it down in manageable chunks, one step at a time. And this will be our last of our Scratch physical computing projects for this week as we start to segue into some other awesome projects in the weeks to come. But today, what we want to do is combine all the things we've been learning and create a Scratch game that is interactive with our buzzer and with our LEDs and with our sprites on the Scratch screen. So we're going to take all the different things that we've done. The beauty of this is we're still using the exact same setup that we've always had. So you don't have to change any wires or LEDs or buzzer or anything like that. What I have done, and it's probably not super noticeable in the small picture, but I have replaced two of my LEDs just with the red and blue. I think it'll show up better for the sake of the video. And I put a new buzzer in that seems to be a little bit louder. So let's go ahead and get into this program. We are in the same project on the Raspberry Pi website, the LEDs, buzzer, and Scratch games. And we are on the very last step of Scratch games with LEDs and buzzers. And to get started here, we're going to make sure that we still have the same pin layout as we've always had. So you're going to have your red LED or whatever color of choice you have to GPIO 17. You're going to want a different color LED. The example is yellow. In mine, I have blue. And that's going to go to GPIO 23, and your buzzer is in GPIO pin 25, the exact same plugins we've been using throughout this week. So to get going, one of the things that we're going to do here in our Scratch program is we're going to choose a backdrop. And in this case, we're going to use the basketball one to do this. And so the way we go about doing that is over here, in which you can't see. So let me go ahead and move my screen here. There we go. Move this up here. Okay, so over here where we've been adding sprites, this is where we can go through, if you haven't done it yet, and change the backdrops, our stage. Right now it's just white. So just like our sprites, we can click here to choose a backdrop, and we are actually going to choose basketball number 1. But you can see there are a ton of backdrops for you to use for your programming. You can always embed your own later if you need to. So now here we go. We actually have a nice basketball backdrop, a basketball court, which is my favorite sport, to rock and roll here. Now what we're going to do is we are going to add a sprite. In this case, we're going to use two different sprites, and they're going to be technically racing across this stage here. So you can have any sprites you wish. But as you'll see in the project guide, they picked Ben and Jordan just because they are the same width and the same size, so one doesn't have an advantage over the other. So we're going to go ahead and delete out the cat here, and we're going to go here and choose our sprites. And we should have, let's see, we're going to search for Ben. There's Ben. Hey, Ben. And then we are going to add Jordan. And Jordan is spelled with a Y. There we go. Hey, Jordan. There we go. Okay, so we've got those two sprites added to our program. The goal of this game, as you follow the guide, is that we want to be able to move our sprite across the board and do that only when the yellow LED light indicates that you're allowed to move. It's kind of like, I don't know what you call it. It reminds me of Super Mario Brothers, like where you would freeze when the ghost looks at you. And then like when it looks away, boom, you take off. So in my case, my light's going to be the blue to move and then the red to stop. And if you try to move when you're supposed to be in stop, you'll actually go backwards. So let's go ahead and get this going. We are going to need these two extensions, the Raspberry Pi GPIO and Simply Electronics, which you can find in this extension block. We've already have them installed, but if you need to, they're right there for you. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to just make sure everything is set when we begin. So we're going to go ahead and when the green flag is clicked to begin our program, we're going to make sure that our buzzer is turned off, our LED 23 is off, and we're going to keep LED 17, the red, on because that indicates don't move. So to do that, we're going to go here to our events. We're going to grab this, and actually I'm going to make sure that I'm programming in the stage for this one so it's not on one of my characters. I'm going to click when clicked. All right, then we're going to go over here to our extension blocks. First we need the GPIO pin block, and we're going to make sure that to set this, our buzzer, which remember our buzzer is pin 25. And if you're using a different pin, you choose the pin that you have your buzzer plugged into, but if you've been following along with all the instructions so far, it should be 25. And we're going to make sure that this is low or off. And then we're going to add our two LED blocks of 23 and 17. So I'm going to go up here to the simple electronic one, and we're going to turn on two LEDs. There we go. All right, and in this case we have 23 and 17. 23. And this will be 17. And we want pin 17 on. That's our red one, and your yellow, or in my case blue, off. And we can go ahead and test that here. I'm just going to go ahead and click, and we should see the red light up. And it's a little hard to see here because that light's so bright. So let me go ahead and dim this so you can see this again. Makes it a little bit easier to see, I know. Okay, so there's the red there for you. We'll keep that off just like so. Now, what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and move this guy back down here to the corner because we won't be changing backdrops anymore. That way you can see all the code here. What we're going to do here next, once we have that, is we want to add a short wait. And we're going to add this to this particular chunk of code because every time you start a new game, we don't want the person to know through just being intelligent and playing the game over and over when it's going to start. So this kind of keeps the users on their toes. So we're going to add a wait block, which is found in control. And we're going to add this wait block down here. And we've been using this other operator block quite a bit, so hopefully you're getting comfortable with this and starting to see how these operator blocks can be helpful. And we can just change up the time. So we'll use the same thing, 1.5 and 5. Now this what it'll do is it's going to wait for this random time, and then the game's going to begin from there. So our next set of blocks here is we're going to put in a loop block here. And what this is going to do is just have our things activate and not activate and that kind of stuff. So the way that we do this in this code is we are going to grab a forever loop, which is in control, and we're going to drag this over just like so. And in this forever loop, we're going to turn these things on and off. So we're actually going to use the blocks we just used up above. So actually what I can do is I can drag this down. I'm just going to right click, duplicate. I'm going to bring this back up and attach it. And what we can do here then is just use this again in our code. And so we're going to go here, and we're going to pick another random block. So I probably should have just duplicated that one as well, or you could just do it yourself. And we can just add that right in here. I'm just going to duplicate this over so I have an extra set of code there to use again if I want. Always delete that later. All right, so now we have this interval where it's going to start the game, there's going to be a pause. Then there's going to be another pause, which is fine for the game itself. And then what we want to do is we want to set the GPIO pin to go to high right after this. So let's go ahead and go to our GPIO blocks. And we're going to set the GPIO pin. Okay, this is going to be, what do we have our GPIO at? We are at 25. Okay. So 25. And we're going to set that as high. Oh, you can hear my code is still on. So you can hear my buzzer now. Let's go ahead and stop this code. Holy buckets, we don't want to keep listening to that. I'll move this over here. That, my friend, is annoying. Let's do this. Low. Whew. Okay. Goodness. I'm just making sure you're on your toes here. And then we're going to put a wait block for just 1/10 of a second. That's going to keep that so it doesn't just buzz super annoying like we just heard. Man, that's one way. That'd be a terrible alarm clock to wake up to in the morning. So we're going to put a wait of 0.1 second. And then we're going to do this same exact code for this as well. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to flip this around here. And then we'll make sure we got some changes. So I want to make sure that what we've got here is going to be a combination of our lights and our GPIO, just like so here. Okay, now I just got to double check this. It's always good to kind of read through your code here and make sure we got the ons and offs and everything else. So to start, I want to mix this up here. So we're already waiting with the red light, so I need to actually flip-flop this around here. I don't want to wait even longer for the blue light or the yellow light in the example to turn on or off. So if I switch that, we want 17 off and 23 on, and it's going to give us a time to move that for a random amount of time. And then what it's going to do, it's going to wait, and it's going to give us that ping, all right, and to let us know. And then it's going to go ahead and then it's going to turn those off. So we'll have 23 off and 17 on, again, for this random kind of flag here. And if we test this, let's just test how this works here. And let's see what we've got working here. And we're just looking at our GPIO pins, our buzzer, and our LEDs blinking and buzzing at random times. So let's go ahead and check this out here. All right, so we got some success there, and we can see that there in the programming and the software. And so we've got that ready to rock and roll here, and our code works. So now what I want you to do is I want you to be able to take the rest of this code, and I want you to write some programming where the two sprites move when you go ahead and you, however you want to do it, activate the character to go ahead and move. In this case, the game structure that they talk about here is A for Ben and I for Jordan. So that way they're on opposite ends of the keyboard, or L for Jordan, excuse me, so two players could play. And you want to write it so that if they hit red and they try to move when the light's red, the sprite will go backwards, and if they hit it when it's yellow, they'll move forward. And could you write some code here that when they get to a certain point, they would be the winner? They would have that program, or they would be able to have that success to make it work. So now that we have that, I want you to go ahead and finish the rest of this code and share your project. And if you get stuck, I will go ahead and I will share my example as well. But I really want you to see if you can figure this out on your own. There are multiple ways to do this. You could change it up. You don't have to use A and L, but feel free to do so. And let's see what you come up with. So here is your week 2 final challenge, is to combine what you've learned all week to finish out this coding program for Ben and Jordan to be able to race across the screen using the LED lights and the buzzer and anything else that you want to use. Have fun with it. I can't wait to see your game. You're going to share some video or a copy of the link of your code or screenshots or a combination of all that. Let's share so we can learn from one another and be proud of what we've accomplished this week. All right, my friends, good luck with your challenge. Can't wait to see your work. Stay awesome. And remember, my friends, peace.